So, how does a massive American snack company go into a market like Brazil and build a multi-billion-dollar empire? Well, it all starts with a struggling, century-old local brand. Today, we're going to break down the exact playbook Mondelēz used to totally conquer the Brazilian market. Yep, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of their strategy, because winning in a place as complex as Brazil is no small feat. And believe it or not, this whole incredible story kicks off with just one single iconic brand, a brand that was literally on the verge of disappearing.
Okay, so first things first, let's rewind a bit to Kraft Foods. That's the company that eventually became Mondelez. We're going to look at how they tackled their first massive challenge, just getting their foot in the door. How do you go from being a total outsider to a local player in Brazil?
Look, trying to build a new brand from the ground up, it's incredibly tough and expensive. So Kraft's strategy was way smarter. They decided to just buy their way in. They went after local companies that Brazilians already knew and loved, companies with deep roots. They started with Kibon ice cream, but the really game-changing move, that came in 1996. And you can't overstate how huge this was. I mean, think about it. Before Kraft showed up, Lacta, this beloved historic brand, was completely crippled by high costs. They were literally days away from missing their Easter production, which for a chocolate company is a total disaster. So this wasn't just some corporate buyout, it was a rescue mission, and it worked. They turned Lacta into the #1 chocolate brand in all of Brazil. All right, so they're in. They're an insider now. But how do you go from just being in the market to completely dominating it? Let's get into that next challenge, building a true behemoth. The first big play was a monster global acquisition. We're talking 2010, when Kraft bought Cadbury. This was a multi-billion-dollar deal that made waves everywhere, but it had a very specific, game-changing effect right there in Brazil. But here's the really clever part, the secret sauce, if you will. This wasn't just about getting more chocolate and candy brands. No. This was a distribution play. By buying Cadbury, Kraft instantly got its hands on this incredible, sprawling network across Brazil. And that meant they could suddenly get their own global brands, like Oreo, into thousands upon thousands of new stores practically overnight. Okay, move number 2, they just doubled down, poured in a ton of cash. Riding that high from the Cadbury deal, they made their single biggest investment in one country in over 10 years. They were betting big, and I mean big, on the Brazilian consumer. And this wasn't them just building another factory. No way. This was a mega plant. We're talking Mondelēz's third largest factory in the world. And they strategically built it in the Northeast region to tap into this booming middle class there. It was a massive signal that they were all in on local growth. So you get big, you scale up, but that comes with its own set of headaches, right? Especially when you're in an economy like Brazil's that can be, let's just say, a bit of a roller coaster. So the next big question is, how did Mondelēz stay profitable through all those ups and downs? Their answer was pretty bold, actually. Back in 2018, they made a really tough but disciplined call. They shut down 2 of their older, less efficient plants and moved everything into their 2 state-of-the-art super factories. This let them create these super flexible production lines that can handle different products and just slash their costs and complexity.
And that move, that right there, was like forging a competitive shield. These 2 hyper-efficient hubs gave them a manufacturing backbone that can handle pretty much anything the economy threw at them. It gave them this incredible lasting advantage.
Which brings us to right now. They're on top. But how do you stay on top? How do you keep competitors at bay? Let's talk about the competitive moat they've built, this set of advantages that is just so hard for anyone else to replicate. It really comes down to this powerful 3-part formula. First, you've got the perfect brand combo. Local heroes that everyone loves, like Lacta, right alongside global giants like Oreo. Second, that unmatched scale from their 2 super factories. And third, that incredible distribution network they've built up over decades. You put all that together, and it's a massive wall that's almost impossible for a competitor to climb over.
And the proof is in the pudding, right? I mean, the results are undeniable. This whole strategy has cemented them as the leader pretty much across the board. They're #1 in chocolate, #1 in biscuits, and have huge shares in gum and candy. They're dominating.
So, you add it all up, the smart buys, the huge investments, that relentless focus on efficiency, and what do you get? You get Brazil turning into a nearly $2 billion a year business for Mondelez. It's become a core engine for their growth around the world. So, what's the big takeaway here? Winning in Brazil wasn't just one magic bullet. It was this long-term playbook played out over decades. It took smart acquisitions, big, bold investments, and just being ruthlessly efficient. And after that incredible journey from outsider to king of the market, it leaves you with one final fascinating question, doesn't it? What's the next move?